Hi, welcome to the Visitation here on St. Gabriel Catholic Radio, AM 820. I'm Mary Beth Eberhard, and I'm here with Lisa Iglesias, my co-host, and we are happy you're here joining us. Today, we are going to talk about empty nesting, or rather, this new concept of what I like to call it, open nesting.
I love it so much.
So we all know, the basic understanding of empty nesting as your kids grow and your home becomes more quiet and you have more time with your spouse and you kind of look at each other and you're like, now what, right? I love this concept of open nesting because the idea of launching my kids into the world, I don't want them to think they can't come back. Now, there are days as we want to like close the door and be like, oh, here we go, right? But the concept, at least for me, is that I'm gonna miss them. Now, for the audience's sake, right, our listeners, I'll have 3 still at home, but 3 out of 8, and that 3 is boom, boom, and boom, graduating. So I just graduated my 5th, and then Joe graduates next year. We're breaking then Paul and Sarah. So in 4 years, they're all out. Now, the other reality that we're learning is that the older they get, the busier they are and the more out of the house they are, right? And they have their licenses and they're working. And so we have sports and theater and all the things. So Ryan and I, my husband, are finding more time just us, right? And we talk a lot about what life will look like when the kids are gone. And I wonder for you, Lisa, because you are in a home that is an open nest, and I've seen you live that out very beautifully, right? Because your kids, they come back. They want to come back to your home. And I absolutely love when, like, the joy on your face that I can hear in your voice when you're like, everybody is here, and we've got sleeping bags and mattresses,
yes.
and it was tight when we just had the 4 kids here, and now we've got
17 in the house.
17 in the house, right? And it's beautiful, right? And that is the goal. That's kind of the reason I love open nesting, that concept, because the whole point of our motherhood, has been to create a space that they want to always come back to. Even when they're young, they they've had a hard day, a hard practice, a hard something, and they step back into this safe place. There's something here that just draws them, right? And they intrinsically are like, I am with my mother. And that's how I feel when I go to adoration.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I walk into it's so hard sometimes for me to get there. And then I sit there and I'm like, oh, it is so good to be with you.
Yeah.
Like, it is just so good. And that's what I want my kids to feel on a different level, but in my home, right? So that's my open nesting view.
I love it. I think you need to copyright that one.
Yeah.
That one's yours.
But, there's a danger for Ryan and me always looking ahead when the kids are all gone. We'll go here. When the kids, we'll do this, or what might we do? And we have all these dreams, and yet we're not right now. And so we kind of twiddle our thumbs, or we look awkwardly at each other, or we're saving for something when life can have a turn around a corner that you don't expect. Yeah. So you are just a few steps ahead. So what do you think about that?
Well, it makes me think about thinking about that, right? Looking down the road when they were all little and in the house. And when they do come back to the house, they are now their own person, their own families, their own children. And that is a whole nother level of new. Every time they have
a level of new.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about, they coming home, coming back into the nest, I think about those, like that Christmas morning time where everybody's barely waking up and everyone is kind of snuggled up or they're around the tree, and maybe you have a grandchild in your arm or not, and it's just really sweet. And but the growth never stops. So in us, to keep in mind that when they come back, I need to know and expect and be okay with the fact that they are different and wonderful and their own family. And so for me, it's been a big stretching of my own expectation of like what those gatherings are like, and part of it is we have two old kids, and then we have almost 10 years, and then two younger kids, and so the ones that are older, I've had time to kind of grow into and kind of accept the fact that they're all like married and have beloveds of their own and children that they cherish. And that had kind of some sticky moments too, where I maybe, suggested something and I didn't wait for a question of how to do something, or, and kind of learning that little place. And if you're in that spot, just remember, just apologize and move on or ask questions. Oh, can I help with it? Whatever. But of the ones coming home, it is pretty special. So I'm thinking of like our two that are in college now and, early 20s. And when they do come home, there's a funny thing there where they are adults and I don't see them as 4 and 2 years old. I'll give me that. But I do see them as my kids still. And I need to continually remind myself and that, they've got their own ideas and hopes and dreams. And I just want to be there with something yummy to fill their bellies and a listening ear. And I want to say, like, my folks are really good at doing, like, yes, I'll go to the shooting range with you. Or yes, I will sit out in the sun and watch you teach horses. Or yes, I will, and while they've been at college, to your point, my husband, Doug, and I have had a ball, whether it's been walking before he goes to work together, or I just make him breakfast and he sends off to work, or if I'm out and doing errands and he's like, well, it's lunch. You want to meet and have like a salad over at Rooster's? And yes, I do. And I truly feel like I'm dating him again in some ways. And it's just been really special to be very, very thoughtful to each other and things like that. So there is the two sides of it. And I want to make sure that when those guys come home, I don't lose sight of how special and how much we've grown as a couple again.
Right.
And so that's something that I pray into and want to be good at.
Do you remember being where I am, though, where you spend so much time thinking about the when, you push it for the later?
Yeah.
And, like we've been dreaming of going to Italy. We've got all these points saved. We've got all we could go, but we don't because there's, we still have these kids at home. And it might not be the right time. Maybe it is. But instead of, it's what could I do instead of that versus always thinking ahead? Does that make sense? So like, for instance, I could plan a romantic Italian dinner on the deck, right? Yeah. And how fun would that be to like put a little Spotify playlist on and grab a bottle of wine and, but it seems like there's like a lack of contentment sometimes in dreaming for like what will be versus a gratitude for what is.
Yes.
And we catch ourselves in that.
Yeah.
But then again, it's okay to dream. God created us to dream, right?
Yeah.
Did you and Doug make?
Yeah, absolutely. We totally did. I remember very much because out of choice and a deep desire, I did want to have the experience of homeschooling my kids. And so we did that with Doug working full time, and I chose to do that at home for the 4. And in that daily, I feel like my mind would dream away to, even if it was the yellow school bus that came came around the court and they picked up all those kids and they would all go to school. And I thought, what might I do for 7 hours in a day? I just can't even imagine. And then I would be like, what's wrong with you? This is the life that you asked the Lord to help you to work with you to build for your family. And so I would always catch myself. But yeah, I mean, and think in those tired, frustrated moments where I hadn't eaten well and hadn't slept well and hadn't worked out and things like that, where I'm at my worst, I would have more of those kind of like, woe is me, I don't get to go. More of that, I think, than like a healthy planning to go here or there, which just sounds like what you're doing.
Yeah. So there's like a going places, but like, it's like, why are we waiting? So for instance, parenting is all about modeling for me. It's really, really important. And so I'm thinking now about like, okay, so what can we be modeling now?
I kind of feel like you should be modeling going to Italy.
I know you do. Like,
and I think you need to give me the dates, so maybe, yeah,
you could join us.
Yeah.
But I think that, that there is a concept of living now versus later, or rather just living in the moment God gives you. But also I'm looking at my kids and I'm thinking, all right, it's more so now when they're, 15, 14, 15, gosh, 18, 20, et cetera, right? Like going up, they need to see parents in love, like in watching that grow, because right now, especially, they're all about the relationships, right? They're like, even my, little one she's not little, right? And she's like, I know I have friends who have boyfriends, mama, and I know that I'm too young, but I know God's got someone out there for me, and I wonder what he looks like.
Yeah.
And so she's got that romantic. So it's like, but what is she doing? She's looking to her mother and father.
Yeah.
And so we need to pour into that. And I feel like if I pour into it now, we'll be better set for going forward, like to like walking into that stage. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think it is all about, what is your intention really? Your intention isn't like maybe mine was, my example of escape and I need a break.
No, I think needing a break is every mother,
Yeah, but I think it is good to even talk about it. Like, I don't think it would be even bad to even, discuss like, the different plans or different ideas of what things may be. But life occurs. And so life happens and we get sidelined. Like, you have a trip planned and life, it needs you to decide to have grace and change dates and do different things. Yep. You have joyful things too that happen, like grandbabies are born and, I do not think I would like to leave now for a year. I would like to know those people, and,
well, it's interesting because, you think about, or rather I do, this concept of Ryan and me. But what I'm finding also is, Ryan is working and I have this time at home. And so the time I longed for, the time that I dreamed of when it was so stressful, right? And I'm kind of odd. It feels odd and icky with it, right? And so, what do you do with that? You're listening to The Visitation here on St. Gabriel Catholic Radio with Mary Beth Eberhard and Lisa Iglesias. And we're talking about open nesting and the adjustment that, you have when your kids are growing and transitioning to living on their own and following God's plan for their life. And Lisa, I was just mentioning that, I spent lots of time dreaming of, the things that Ryan and I will get to do. And you pointed rightly that we can do some of them, but I'm noticing that the Lord has given me a season where I can do more. I met one of my former students to celebrate her birthday, and we had tea and we talked for 2.5 hours. It was the most uncomfortable 2.5 hours for me.
It's hard.
It was beautiful,
yeah.
But I kept looking at my phone being like, are they texting? Are they okay?
Yeah.
Is everyone all right? Does anyone need me?
Sure.
And what do I do with this time? Right. And
is it okay that I'm just having a nice time?
Right. Is it okay? Right. And then, and then to debrief with Ryan later being like, wow, that was hard. that was hard for me to do. And then, I followed it up the next day with something else because I have 3 kids who are working and one who's at theater shows. And so what do you do with that? And how do you prioritize yourself again? Right? Like, how do you do that? Like, because there's time for me to take the walks now. And there's time for me to, reset things and do all those things. And like, what do you do?
Yeah. I've even found that I won't. Sometimes I'll give into the laziness, or I'll make a long list of to-dos that I didn't have
is that
second
okay?
ago. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, I used to long for to go to the gym. I used to long to go and do, go for long runs and go be by myself, just by myself and all this stuff. And now I'm by myself, and like when they're at school, and the other ones are in their own homes, but and I'll call Doug.
Do you know what
I'm sorry, I'm calling you again.
Do you know what I do when I'm by myself? Ryan calls it the phone progression. Like, he's like, dial a kid, dial a kid, dial a kid. And he's like, they're going to be okay.
They're going to be okay.
Like, I'm like, hey, so what you doing? And working, Mom. Or, Lily would be like, Mom, she's a manager at Chick-fil-A. She's like, it is 12:30. It is a lunch rush. Is everything okay? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I was just checking on you. Yeah. But there's like a letting them be. And
what I found for myself is kind of allowing myself to do some of those things that I thought of before, right? It sounds kind of silly because, like, oh, well, if the time is there, you just slide into this new part of your life. But like you're saying, there's this like buffer time where you're like, is that okay? Is it okay if I actually do that? So
is it okay to sit and read a book? Because for so long, like, we're so busy, as moms, we go, 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 go. And then the slow down feels wrong. And it's almost why a Sunday Sabbath is a foreign concept, because like we must go, right? But then the Lord gave us a Sabbath for a reason. And but I'm marvel, Ryan comes home and like he can rest. Like he gives himself that, right? And I don't know if it's just a me thing or if it's a woman thing. Like I don't know. Yeah. But
I think to be busy with the work of taking care of and loving people is, if you're used to doing that for kids, then yeah. But if not, I think it might be a woman thing, is that we're kind of wired to do that, right? Take care of and love people. And so more recently, I've been trying to, because I can have the tendency of, if I've taken care of all of the kids, well, great. And if Doug, I've spent time and, poured into him, great. And then never really acknowledging the fact that I might need something, or I might need time, or I might need whatever. But now to actually realize that it's good for me to not just be home. It's good for me to not just be doing the helping, but to be part of the parish, to be part of like other ministries, to be part of, studying the word with a group, like it's just been such a huge blessing for me. Kind of reminding me a little bit of like who Lisa is, because I'm used to being who Mom is, and but who I am. And sometimes I'll, it'll surprise me, like. Maybe I'll just belly laugh about whatever and realize I haven't belly laughed and I can't remember how long, or I haven't really, So I guess maybe it was the focus of like them being always there with homeschooling and stuff, but the focus now that kind of kept me like very like busy mentally about them and their life. But now to be able to kind of like, reach out to those, folks at church or whatever, and just get to be me and talk to them and ask about them, and I'm still kind of I'm still not quite ready to jump into like, yes, put me in that ministry, put me in coach, let me go. I want to I still haven't committed to a lot of those things yet, but Yeah, it's a funny,
It's an interesting
funny
thing.
place.
I'm reflecting on like needing to almost, where I am, safeguard my tendencies to be like, I have all this time, so I'm going to do this, this, and this. And Ryan has been very much, no, like he is very, and I love him for that. You know, sometimes I get frustrated.
Yeah.
I'm like, guess who asked me to do this, or guess what? And he was like, and the answer is like, no. But in doing so, he's really teaching me that, like, trusting that God has a season of ahead for you, and just because someone suggests it doesn't mean that, you know, God is leading it, right? But going back to what I was talking about this like time of quiet in my home, right? I've been very good over the years at creating community for my children. I'm very good at it. Our home, we have, you know, we're out in the country, and we've got, you know, the trampoline and the fire pit and, you know, the badminton and all the stuff that the kids do. And so everyone has always come to us, which has been a blessing. So I'm great at creating community. And now I need to use those gifts to create community for Ryan and myself.
Yeah.
And what we used to be interested in isn't necessarily who we are now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to be very, very social. And now I crave the quiet. I feel like I would do well as a little hermit. But you know, how do you form that and I'm reminding myself that it can be like maybe once a month. I scheduled, you know, dinners, you know, with a couple. We go out to dinner and we connect, right? And sometimes from that, it's like, hey, in a couple weeks, you guys want to meet up and do this, right? But I'm learning how to create community for Ryan and myself.
So I learned something recently, and just as far as like, I kind of, maybe it was the move from St. John Newman to St. Brendan's when Doug was assigned there as a deacon in 2020. And me just taking time to put myself out there and make friends. You know, I'm very slow at that. And I would say I'm still working on that. Very kind people are kind to us, but you know, like being brave enough to ask. And so here's my thing is, I kind of imagine that everybody already has their friends. Like they don't need another friend. They don't need like a Lisa and a Doug, you know, like, and so I was very slow to try at all. And so I'm grateful for the ones, the you know who you are at St. Brendan's, who have reached out to Doug and me and asked us over, or asked us to, you know, look at scripture together, or, you know, it opened my eyes to, like you said, that you're different now. You know, like you're growing, you're different now, and I am too. We are too, as a couple. We are, and in a good way. But different. And so when my brave friends at St. Brendan's and my dear friends at St. John Newman who still love me, thank you so much. You fill my cup. But like they're brave, and they say, hey, you want to come over? Like, you have that courage, you have that in you. And it kind of opened my eyes to, sure, I have friends too, but I'm not close to knowing other people that the Lord would like to put in my life. And so be open. I would say be open to that he knows that everybody, all these other people that I assumed already have their friends and they don't need another friend, they're also growing and changing too. And
I think, you know, we talk often about how much I like to, you know, we all do like to control the situation. You know, we like to do our own planning. And I really feel strongly that the Lord is giving me this time to sit with him and let him lead, right? Like to start the day and be like, all right, Lord, you know, what does today look like? What does this week look like, right? And I have that freedom now with a little bit more of an open nest. But, you know, as we kind of, you know, wrap up a little bit, I want to just think about like the beauty of an open nest with my children as they get older, right? You talk about the freedom, recognizing that they're growing and they're doing all their things, especially when they come home from school, right? I tend to jump back into, what do you got scheduled for today? What's going on in your world? What do you need from me? What can I, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah. What do you mean you don't know?
And I want to create. So
what does
true.
that even mean?
Right. You're not sure yet?
I'd like to see
have
a
a whole
breakdown
list
by hour, please.
Right. I have a whole list of things you could be doing. But the reality is, they have, I want my home to still maintain that peace and be a place where they want to come back to, and not have it be a place where when they come back, I'm like, hey, can you do this for me? Would you do this? What are you doing? So I think there's a check and balances to that.
Yep,
do you think so?
That's a good point. Yep, that's a good one. Yeah, I think they need to know that they are seen and that you love them and you want to know more about them.
And that coming home is not always like a day of, doing all the things. Like it can be a time of just being.
Yeah.
I need to remember that. I loved how you said, like, I just want to make them something and, create something warm. And we get to do that. I get to do that in this open nesting season of that. It makes me want to go home after we're done here and, make a plate of cookies and they'll look at me like, you okay, Mom? But I think as we go forward, we thank God for the gift of having open nests for that season and that we use it well.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us here on The Visitation. And we look forward to talking with you next time here on St. Gabriel Catholic Radio, AM 820.